The attic smelled like forgotten summers and mothballs. Dust danced in the single beam of sunlight slicing through a crack in the boarded-up window. Timmy coughed, waving a hand in front of his face. He was supposed to be cleaning his room, a task his mom had declared non-negotiable, but the lure of the attic, a forbidden kingdom of forgotten things, was too strong. "Just a quick look," he muttered, stepping over a stack of old photo albums. His mom, a whirlwind of activity with a permanent to-do list, wouldn't even notice he was gone for a few minutes. His dad, a man of few words but firm principles, would be more discerning, but thankfully, Dad was at work. And little Lily, his 7-year-old sister, was lost in a world of dolls and tea parties, oblivious to his escape. He navigated through cobweb-draped furniture and boxes overflowing with memories. Then he saw it. Tucked away in a dark corner, beneath a faded tapestry, was a clock. Not a digital blinking clock, but an old-fashioned one, ornate and heavy, crafted from dark wood and gleaming brass. Its face was covered in swirling designs, and the hands were frozen at a peculiar angle. Curiosity overriding his usual caution, Timmy reached out and carefully lifted the clock. It was surprisingly heavy. A small leather-bound journal lay beside it, its pages yellowed and brittle. He flipped it open, the paper crackling in his hands. The handwriting was elegant but faded. The chronarium, a powerful artifact guarded by the timekeeper, must not fall into the wrong hands. Timmy skimmed the entry, his brow furrowing. "Sounds like a story," he scoffed, dismissing it as the ramblings of some eccentric ancestor. He was much more interested in the clock itself. He found a small key attached to the back and on a whim wound it. Not forward like you usually do, but backward. As the key turned, a strange tingling sensation ran up his arm. Then everything stopped. A fly buzzing lazily a moment before hung suspended in midair, its wings frozen in a blur. Dust motes danced motionless in the sunbeam. Even the faint creaks and groans of the old house vanished. Timmy blinked, his heart hammering against his ribs. He waved his hand in front of his face and it felt different, like moving through thick syrup. He cautiously took a step. Everything remained frozen. He poked the fly. Didn't flinch. He could change things. He wasn't entirely sure what it could do, but a mischievous grin spread across his face. This wasn't just a clock. It was a solution. A solution to chores, to bad grades, to everything. A solution named time. The initial shock wore off, replaced by a giddy sense of power. Timmy tested the clock again and again, freezing and unfreezing small moments. A falling book, a dripping faucet. Each time the same tingling sensation, the same eerie stillness. It was real. He could control time. His room, a disaster zone of clothes and toys, loomed large in his mind. "Operation Clean Sweep delayed," he declared, winding the clock backward. The world froze. He quickly, and with a smug grin, stuffed everything into the closet, creating a facade of tidiness. A few seconds later he released time. His mom would never know. "Timmy, have you started your room yet?" Her voice called from downstairs. "Almost done, Mom," he yelled back, basking in his cleverness. It was amazing. The next day, math class proved to be another perfect opportunity. Mr. Harrison's pop quiz was brutal. Timmy stared at the problems, his mind blank. He knew he was going to fail. Panic welled up. Then he remembered the clock. A quick rewind, a frantic scribble during the frozen moments, and voila! He handed in the test with a confident air. When the tests were returned, a bright red bee stared back at him. He'd never gotten a B on a math test before. A thrill shot through him. This wasn't just about avoiding trouble. It was about succeeding. He even used it for good, a tiny bit. Lily was struggling to build a tower of blocks, her little face scrunched in frustration. He froze time, carefully stacked the remaining blocks, and then released it. "Wow, Timmy! You're the best!" Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. He felt a pang of guilt but quickly brushed it aside. It was a harmless little boost. But the biggest test came with Butch. Butch the Bruiser Brody, a hulking 6th grader who seemed to delight in making Timmy's life miserable, was notorious for his pranks. Today's target: a bucket of water precariously balanced above the doorway of the school library. Timmy saw Butch smirking, ready to strike. With a determined glint in his eye, Timmy wound the clock back. Time stopped. Butch hung frozen, his hand outstretched, the bucket trembling. Timmy carefully lowered the bucket to the ground, then rewound the clock. Butch, looking confused, shrugged and wandered off, muttering about a sudden change of heart. Timmy felt a surge of triumph. He was untouchable. But then little things started to happen. His mom's favorite African violet, usually vibrant and blooming, began to wilt, despite Timmy diligently watering it. Buster, their golden retriever, seemed disoriented, bumping into furniture and whining softly. And that evening at dinner, his mom paused mid-sentence, a puzzled expression on her face. Did we plan a trip to the zoo this weekend?" she asked, looking at his dad. His dad frowned. "The zoo? I don't think so, honey." Timmy's mom shook her head, dismissing it with a wave of her hand. "Oh, silly me. Must be getting mixed up." But Timmy noticed the flicker of confusion in her eyes. A strange chill ran down his spine. It wasn't just about him anymore. Something was off. He tried to ignore it, telling himself it was just coincidence. But a nagging feeling told him that his little game of controlling time was starting to unravel something much bigger than he'd anticipated. The wilting violet was just the beginning. The next morning, Mrs. Gable, the usually cheerful baker, couldn't remember how to make her famous blueberry muffins. Old Man Hemlock's prize-winning roses bloomed in shades of blue and orange. And the weather? It swung from scorching hot to drizzling rain in a matter of minutes. Timmy walked to school under a sky that couldn't seem to decide what season it was. At school, chaos reigned. Students reported forgetting their homework, teachers misplaced lesson plans, and the lunch lady served spaghetti for breakfast. Even Butch seemed subdued, wandering the halls with a bewildered look on his face. It was unsettling. Timmy felt a knot of dread tightening in his stomach. He tried to fix it, of course. He rewound time, hoping to undo the damage, to restore Mrs. Gable's recipe, to make the roses red again. But each attempt only made things worse. He'd fix one thing and two more would break. The timeline felt like a tangled ball of yarn, and every tug only knotted it further. "It's like trying to unscramble an egg," he muttered to himself, staring at a news report on his mom's phone about a flock of pigeons flying backward. That evening, Lily found him staring at the clock, a worried expression etched on his face. She'd been unusually quiet all day, observing him with a thoughtful gaze. "Timmy," she said softly, "things have been weird. Really weird. Mom keeps forgetting things and Buster keeps looking at me like he doesn't know who I am. And you've been acting strange too." Timmy froze. "What do you mean? You keep disappearing. Like you're here, then you're not, then you're back. And everything around you feels fuzzy sometimes. Did you do something?" Her voice was small, filled with a mixture of fear and suspicion. He wanted to lie, to dismiss it as her imagination. But Lily wasn't a little kid anymore. She was perceptive, and she wasn't easily fooled. He sighed, defeated. "I found something in the attic." Before he could explain, the air in the room shimmered, and a figure began to materialize. It wasn't solid, more like a heat haze given form. The figure was tall and slender, draped in flowing robes that seemed to shift and change color with every movement. Its face was kind but ancient, with eyes that held the weight of centuries. "You have been tampering with the currents of time, young one," the figure said, its voice a melodious echo. Timmy stared, speechless. Lily gasped and instinctively hid behind him. Who are you?" Timmy stammered. "I am the timekeeper," the figure replied. "I am tasked with maintaining the balance of the timeline. Your actions, while perhaps well-intentioned, are creating rifts and imbalances. Each alteration, each frozen moment, weakens the fabric of reality." "But I was just trying to make things better," Timmy protested. The timekeeper's expression softened. "I understand the temptation, but time is not a toy to be played with. It is a delicate ecosystem, and even the smallest disruption can have unforeseen consequences. You are causing memories to fray, events to unravel. The world you know is at risk of dissolving into chaos." "What can I do?" Timmy asked, his voice trembling. "You must revisit each moment you altered and allow events to unfold naturally," the timekeeper said. "You must learn to accept the consequences of your actions, and to appreciate the flow of time." even when it is difficult. It will be a challenging journey, but it is the only way to restore balance. The timekeeper looked at Timmy with a knowing gaze. Are you willing to accept this responsibility? Timmy nodded, swallowing hard. I will. But where do I even start? The timekeeper gestured, and a swirling vortex of images appeared before them. Flashes of Timmy using the clock, the undone math test, Butch with a water balloon poised, his messy room gloriously clean. Each of these moments represents a fracture. You must return to them, not to change what happened, but to allow it to happen as it was meant to. But what about my math test? I failed, Timmy exclaimed, anxiety creeping into his voice. Failure is a teacher, young Timmy, the timekeeper said gently. It builds resilience, encourages effort. To shield yourself from such experiences is to stunt your growth. He tried explaining everything to his parents that night. He told them about the clock, the frozen time, the timekeeper. His mom offered a sympathetic smile and a glass of milk. His dad, after a long sigh, suggested he get some extra sleep. It sounds like you've been reading too much science fiction, Timmy, his dad said, patting him on the shoulder. Everyone has a little stress about school, and chores are just part of life. Deflated, Timmy realized he was on his own. He had to fix this, and no one would believe him enough to help. He glanced at Lily, who was watching him with a mixture of concern and fascination. She didn't say I told you so, thankfully. The next morning, he braced himself and wound the clock backward to the moment before his math test. This time he didn't touch the clock. He sat down, took a deep breath, and did his best. It wasn't pretty. He struggled with the equations, his mind blanking on key formulas. He handed in the paper, knowing he'd done poorly. A wave of disappointment washed over him, but it was a different kind of disappointment. One mixed with a strange sense of relief. Then came Butch. Timmy found him near the bike racks, looking less bewildered than the day before, but still radiating a simmering anger. He instinctively tensed, ready to freeze time. But he remembered the timekeeper's words. He walked towards Butch, his heart pounding. Hey Butch, he said, trying to sound confident. Butch sneered. Well, look who it is. Little Timmy, come to beg for mercy? He raised his hand, a mischievous glint in his eye. Timmy braced for the water balloon, but instead of freezing time, he just stood there. The cold water splashed over him, soaking his shirt. He didn't retaliate. He didn't even flinch. Butch blinked, surprised by Timmy's lack of reaction. What are you doing? Aren't you going to cry or something? Timmy shook his head. No. Look, I'm sorry, Butch mumbled, suddenly looking awkward. My dad, he's been working a lot. He's never around. I don't know. I just like getting a reaction. Timmy felt a pang of sympathy. It wasn't an excuse, but it was an explanation. He remembered seeing Butch's worn-out shoes, the patched-up jacket. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a spare granola bar. Here, Timmy said, offering it to Butch. You want this? I have an extra. Butch stared at the granola bar, then at Timmy, his expression unreadable. He slowly took it. Thanks, he muttered, avoiding eye contact. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was genuine. And for the first time, Timmy saw a flicker of something other than anger in Butch's eyes. He saw loneliness. Finally, the hardest part. His room. He started with the overflowing laundry basket, then the scattered toys, and finally, the mountain of dirty dishes. Took hours. His back ached, and his fingers were sticky, but he kept going. With each item he put in its place, he felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. It wasn't fun, but it was satisfying. The strange occurrences began to unravel with surprising speed. Old Man Hemlock, who'd been convinced his prize-winning roses were blooming in December, blinked in confusion as they reverted to their dormant winter state. Mrs. Gable remembered precisely where she'd left her spectacles, on top of her head, as usual. Even the weather, which had been fluctuating wildly between sunshine and snow, settled into a crisp, autumnal chill. Timmy noticed the changes first in his dog, Buster. Buster's confused head tilts and anxious pacing disappeared, replaced by his usual goofy enthusiasm for belly rubs and chasing squirrels. A wave of relief washed over Timmy. He hadn't realized how much Buster's distress had worried him. He found Lily in the garden, carefully observing a robin building a nest. It's like everything is back to normal," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Remember when Mr. Hemlock thought it was summer? And Mom kept forgetting what we had for dinner?" Timmy nodded, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. He knew he couldn't keep the secret any longer. I did something. I found a clock in the attic and it could stop time. I messed things up, but I fixed it." Lily's eyes widened. She didn't laugh or dismiss him this time. Instead, she reached out and squeezed his hand. "Wow," she breathed. "That's amazing. And scary." "It was scary," Timmy agreed. "But I learned something. Time is important. Every little bit of it." Just then, the shimmering figure of the timekeeper materialized before them, radiating a gentle warmth. "Indeed, young Timmy. You have shown remarkable courage and a willingness to accept responsibility. The timeline is restored, thanks to your efforts." The timekeeper smiled, a fleeting expression of profound wisdom. "You have learned that time is not a tool to be manipulated, but a river to be navigated. Embrace the flow, learn from the currents, and cherish every moment." With a final nod, the timekeeper faded away, leaving Timmy and Lily standing in the quiet garden. Timmy knew what he had to do with the clock. He carefully carried it back to the attic, not to hide it away in shame, but to safeguard it. He placed it in a locked chest, a reminder of his adventure and the valuable lesson he had learned. It wouldn't be a source of power, but a symbol of responsibility. The next day, Timmy's math test was returned. A C stared back at him. It wasn't the score he'd hoped for, but he accepted it with a newfound sense of peace. He'd earned it. At lunch, he saw Butch sitting alone, sketching in a notebook. Taking a deep breath, Timmy walked over and sat down beside him. "Hey Butch," he said. Butch looked up surprised. He didn't sneer or make a snide remark. "Hey Timmy. I like your drawing," Timmy said, genuinely impressed by the detailed sketch of a hawk. "You're really good." Butch shrugged, a faint blush creeping up his neck. "Thanks. Something to do." "I get it," Timmy said, offering a small smile. "Sometimes, you just need something to focus on." A comfortable silence settled between them. It wasn't a friendship, not yet, but it was a start. Later that afternoon, Timmy's mom asked him to take out the trash. He didn't complain. He didn't even think about using the clock. He simply grabbed the trash bag and headed outside, whistling a cheerful tune. The sun was shining, the air was crisp, and for the first time in a long time, Timmy felt truly content. He understood now that time wasn't something to be controlled, but something to be lived one moment at a time.